Hello. So for this next project, we're going to talk about 2.5D space in After Effects and what that is and how to set it up. It's actually a really kind of fun and there's a ton of creative potential in using 2.5D space, and that's what our next project is going to be about. So a good way to think about it is it's three-dimensional flat cards. So it's almost like a paper cutout world that you can move through, and if you're clever about it, there's a lot that you can achieve through these kind of paper cutouts. And we looked at professional examples in class and some nice student pieces just to show you like how far you can take this stuff. But to just start from scratch, we have a brand new project here. We'll make a new composition. We will make it just what we've been working with, HD 24. All right, and we'll make a new solid. Call this foreground. Then we'll make some text. Right, and then we'll make one more solid. And we'll call this background, and we'll make it a slightly different color. Be a darker gray. All right, so we got foreground in the front, midground in the back, and background in the back. All right, so if we want to make this 2.5D, what we do is we turn on the 3D checkbox in these layers. And so let's just look at if I have position, and then I'll also show rotation. So when I click on the 3D, there's going to be another component to everything, right? So right now it's just Z rotation, X and Y position. But if I turn this on, see now there's a lot more options. And we also see that these little 3D controllers come up. And yeah, let's just keep going. So the next thing I'm going to do is make a new null object. I'm going to also make this 3D. And I'll make all of these a child of my null. All right. So now, if I go over here and I rotate this, I am rotating them, these cards, in three-dimensional space. All right, so let's make this first one maybe a frame. And so I made a mask, and I'm going to bring the mask in, and I will make it a subtract. All right. And so I'm gonna rotate this around, and so they're all coplanar, meaning they're on the same plane right now, but it is a three-dimensional plane. And what I can do is I can move these planes around in space. Right? And when you rotate this, you can really see what's happening. See? Foreground, midground, background. So a few interesting things about this. So we are in three-dimensional space, right? So what happens if I put this in front of the foreground? Nothing, right? Because even though it's above the foreground in the stack, it's still in back of it in three-dimensional space. So that's just something to kind of be on the lookout for. What else? What about like when it's perfectly 90 degrees? What happens then? Well, then if I turn off my layer controls, it actually disappears completely, right? because it's a perfectly thin card, so it actually doesn't have any depth. It's just a two-dimensional plane. So the stack becomes sort of irrelevant, and it's also just like paper cards. So anything you can do with a paper card, you can do in here, and it actually turns out you can do quite a bit with paper cards and different kinds of movement, and so on and so forth. So this is in perspective, right? But like, what kind of perspective? Like, what kind of distortion? And then how do we move around in the space? So the other side of the coin, in addition to the position and rotation of layers, is cameras. And we'll cover that in the next video.